All right, we are back. We are here doing the MTX-D Innovate Motorsports ethanol content and fuel temp gauge. We're doing this install. It's actually rather simple. There's just a couple little hiccups and everything like that that you have to get over and overcome. Just for quick reference, we're going to make sure that we have at least red wire is our switched 12 volt. Our black wire is going to be grounded, and the problem with these cars, so I went through the whole entire fuse box and everything like that. The fuse for the headlights and the dimming and everything like that is actually in the engine compartment and not down here. So if you want it to dim, I mean, you don't have to get it to dim if you don't want to. And then there's a couple other wires that are on that loom as well. The yellow can do ethanol content based on voltage. So 0 volts is 0% ethanol, 5 volts is 100% ethanol, so on and so forth. You can also do fuel temp as well. Also on this, it's in the gauge. So if you pull this off, and so we can pull it out and everything like that. If you want to put it into a data logger, there is two ins and outs right here, so that if you wanted to do it towards the data logger, or I think they were saying something about you can actually like download a program. And so like if you're using any kind of like aftermarket, so like let's say you're using I can't even think of anything right off the top of my head, but if you're using any of those aftermarket ECUs or anything like that, you can go ahead and program that stuff in there. You just have to upload the software and everything like that. All right, so the first part of the install, of course, is getting yourself a sensor. So again, we had the RIC sensor right here. And so what we did is there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can do the botched way that I did because I just really didn't care. It's my own vehicle. You know, I won't do this install on another vehicle. But what you can do is come right here and then just cut into the shroud, and then you'd follow your line right here. Or the better way, which is going to take a little bit more work, is if you take this line right here and you cut these zip ties to these heater hoses. There's 2 heater hoses right there. You could actually cut a zip tie and slide it in there, and then you'll be on the back side over here. I know you can't see it, but then they'll come in from right here, and it'll be a little bit more, you know, undercover. So the way I did it is you have the line coming in this way, and the line actually drops underneath this little frame area right here. So this little frame bar, all right, and then it drops under here, and then it runs this way to the grommet. And here, I don't know if I can, let me see if I can right here. Oh, perfect. And then it's going to run to the grommet that's for the firewall. So it's actually going through the firewall grommet right there. All right, so now we're on the inside of the car, and so it doesn't look pretty. Let's see if I can get under here. It doesn't look the best, but we cut open the firewall grommet right there. It's watertight. There's nothing leaking in here, I promise you. Just don't butcher it up too much. But what I did is I came over here, I cut it open, and then I took I didn't have a hanger. A hanger would do very well here, but all I had was actually had a aluminum TIG rod. And so then I pushed the aluminum TIG rod in here, went back up, and then grabbed the wire and pulled the wire back through. All right. And then once you pull that wire back through, what you're going to do is you're going to loop it back in here and then pull it up. And so this is the wire that we had. This is the one, this is the 3-pin that comes from the sensor. All right, so there is multiple ways to do this. Unfortunately, this install took a little bit longer because I didn't have this specific add a fuse or tap a fuse or however you want to call it. But they decided to use micros here. These are micro fuses. So not to be confused with the mini fuses. Mini fuses are different than this one. So I elected to use this one right here. This one is number 37 here at the top. Number 37 here at the top is a 20 amp. So if you go in here, you're going to see your 20 amp here at the top. Now, the reason why I use that one specifically, not any of these ones down here, okay, these ones will work, But this 20 amp right here, this one actually goes off whenever the power is off. Now these ones down here actually have power, okay? They are spares, but they have power. So if you are to use one of these, okay, if you use any one of these right here, that 30, 30, 30, 20, 30 right there, if you use any of those right there, you need to add some kind of switch to switch off the gauge, because if not, while the vehicle's off, the vehicle is going to still have power, and when it has power, it's still going to send power to that gauge, and your gauge is going to be on all night, and then your gauge will end up running your battery down. And then for the ground, let's see if we can see it. It is back right there. There is a, hold on, a little bit further back, hold on, right there. So there is an 8mm back here, or I'm sorry, I think it's a 10mm, 8, 10, either or. Go ahead and undo that one, and then put yourself a ground wire. What I did is I made this thing super long, so that way if I need to, so whenever I'm ready to install, I'll cut this down. When I cut this down, then I'll make it, of course, of length and everything like that. So we have our power wire right here, we have our ground wire right here, and then we have our three prong for the gauge itself. All right, and so you're gonna have this bundle of wires right here. So your red one is going to be your power, black one's going to be ground. This is the one that hooks up to your ethanol sensor. And then you do have the white. Like I said, the white is going to be if you want this to dim at night. If not, the gauge will just be really bright all the time. It won't dim with the headlights unless you tap it in. And then we're not going to worry about the brown and the yellow. Those ones are going to be analog inputs. So if you're using more of like if you want analog inputs where it's based on voltage rather than actual like the calculations, then you would use those. So what we're going to do when we tidy this up and everything like that, what we're going to do, we're just going to wrap these ends, tuck them away so that way we don't see them. All right, and for the actual gauge install itself, so I'm going to put it right here. Of course, I forgot my double-sided tape so that I can mount this right here. Like I said in one of my other videos, you can get like the A-pod pillar right here. There's one that also goes right here. Some people put it in right here. I elected to put it right here. It's actually kind of the easier install. But what we're going to do is we're going to try to separate this just a little bit. Don't put too much pressure in here. You don't want to crack anything. You don't want to like put, like if you were to use like a screwdriver, this is one of my, I call it an insulated screwdriver. I actually put it right here so that way when I'm prying on something, it doesn't leave any kind of marring marks or anything like that. But I'm telling you right now, if you're going to run it right here, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to take this vent, pull it back, just apply some pressure, it'll pop out. Once it pops out and everything like that, just kind of pop this. Also, when you go to pop this out, pop this middle piece right here. It'll make it easier to get that. And then what you're going to do is just kind of pull this back. And so when you feed the wire down here, it is going to feed around the vent. So if you look over here on the left hand side, we've got our wire coming down. It goes this way and then it goes down in here, and then we get it down to right here. All right, and when you're about done, this is what everything's going to look like. You're going to have your gauge right there, however you want to position it. Make sure you go ahead and pop this back. Make sure you pop this middle portion back and everything like that. Now, when it comes to the wiring, it's going to be completely up to you. So like I said, I ran a tap up here. The tap comes over here. And then what I did is I added these right here. These actual, you can disconnect these. So like if you wanted to add a different gauge, or if down the road you decide that you want to do something a little bit different, you can. I didn't want anything to be permanent, so I can just unplug these and I could pull this gauge out, and I would still have a power wire, and then I still have a ground wire. So if I wanted to, I can just hide the ground wire for the next person or whatever. It doesn't matter. Or if I wanted to, I could use this, and then I could use this for like a camera or something like that, whatever you wanted to do. So we've got the power, we've got that. We've got everything plugged in, and so whenever we go to turn the car on, there we go. Now, I know this looks bad on camera, but it looks like our ethanol content is 36%, which actually sucks because that means that the station I went to was not testing at E85, so my blend is way off. Now, according to all the stuff that I've seen online and everything like that, I was told that if you're at least hitting E30 to E50, you should be good. Any below or whatever, you're actually going to start losing a little bit of horsepower. But we're at 36% right now. That's pretty good. So whenever we go to fill up, we'll just add a little bit more ethanol on top of this, just so that we can hit the E50 better. All right, to finish off the video, we are going to need some wire crimps, wire strippers. We may need some disconnects depending on what you need. There's going to be an eyelet that you're going to need for the ground wire, the micro fuse tap, because these ones are micro fuses in here, some electrical tape so that way we can hide these wires and everything like that. You may need some trim tools if you want to be able to pull this stuff apart. I was able to get this apart with my bare hands. I was able to actually get right here, but just make sure that you get everything put back. Make sure that it's clean install. Make sure that, you know, once you put everything back, it doesn't look like you've ever been there. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a rag and everything like that. We'll clean that up. But what I'm going to do too is I'm going to go ahead and link, just in case you need the video before. The video before is going to install this ethanol sensor right here. It'll show you how to install the ethanol sensor, and then you go from there, and then you work and you get your gauge. Now, there was a caveat to this. If you want to do the gauge, then you can do the gauge. If not, somebody else will have to do it, but you can get yourself a Bluetooth module. It plugs into there. You have to run power to it, and then you have the Bluetooth module, so that way you can have it on your phone. But I personally don't want anything on my phone. If I'm trying to drive, I want to be able to just look up here and go boom, ethanol content. But anyways, thank you guys. Appreciate the likes, the subscriptions, and everything like that. It really does help. I'm trying to improve the channel. I haven't done much with the channel in a while, so I'm just kind of trying to get back into it and everything like that. I've been so actually busy with work, I haven't been able to actually record myself doing all this work. But appreciate you guys. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.